Hello and welcome to the Feedback Show. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
This is number 10 of the Feedback Show. Thank you. Welcome along and thanks for joining us. This is the show where we give feedback on your artwork sent into us by our members of Colin Bradley Arts. It's one of the bonuses you get of becoming a member of our website is that you get feedback on your artwork, and we feature it on this show where Dad can give his advice, his expertise, and anything that you're struggling with, we can offer tips on that will help not only you, but everyone else tuning in. So I think we've got 5 submissions today for feedback, lots of animals. There's a running theme throughout the artwork sent into us today. So we're going to hopefully touch upon those points. But how are you doing, Dad? Are you all right?
I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to this one, Steve, because fur is very difficult to do, and we've got some various subjects, and they are all slightly different. So this is good. I can give lots of feedback on the fur that's being done. I've got to tell people though before they actually see there's some brilliant work being done. Mm-hmm. So very well done. Fur and feathers.
Fur and feathers. Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we're covering today. And hopefully we'll stay both in the broadcast, unlike our podcast last week. For anyone that tuned in, I disappeared for a little while. And obviously, if I disappear this time, the screen's going to go blank and you're not going to see what you're looking at. So,
oh well, that's a bit more disastrous, isn't it?
So let's dive straight in and try to maintain a smooth stream all the way through. So the first piece of artwork sent into us today is from Greg, and Greg sends in his version of our lovely kingfisher picture. Now, let's cover these point by point. The first point, he says, this is the first piece of work I did for someone other than myself. This piece will be a part of a charity silent auction, so approximately 100 people will view it. A lack of confidence makes me wonder if I'll be the only one bidding on it.
Yeah, that brings out that confidence problem again, and it is a major issue, I've got to tell people. And so don't worry about that. That will come with time as you get more practiced and the confidence grows. So don't worry too much about that. Try to put it out of your mind. I know it's not always possible, but do try.
Second point he raises is that the eye was a challenge and he really wanted to get that right. So we've put yours side by side so you can see a little bit more about the eye.
Yes, well, the eye, absolutely right. The eye is critical. What could have enhanced that slightly is a little more depth around the eye, because the eye on mine, if you look at it, it's part of a band of darkness that runs across the picture from the beak across the head through the eye. You with me? If you look at Greg's, that isn't there. Now that means that the eye stands out a bit more. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So that's what I would have done. But put it on the back burner. This is something that I'm telling you and you should be aware of. Eyes or any other feature is part of the whole. Now try to remember that when you're doing a picture. Don't try to isolate it and say, I'm doing the eye, that's it, done. Think of it as the eye and the top of the head and the adjacent areas. Really important to think like that.
Well, how often do we see you working the eye surround a lot before you even get into the eye?
Absolutely right.
Yeah. Okay, good point. Next point is that the white dots along the top of the head and down the right took a long time, and I was concerned that they may be too large and too bright white.
Yes, well, they possibly are. And once again, they're highlighted because of that reason. Again, if you look at mine, you'll see it's like an even Stevens. I know you can see the white dots, but you also see quite a lot of the blue as well. So the kind of, it evens it up a bit. But I do understand what he's coming from. You've got to remember, though, that people who are looking at these pictures or bidding for them don't look at it as critical as we are. They're going to look at that and think, oh, what a lovely kingfisher. Oh, I love kingfishers. I've got to have it. Do you see what I mean? So they're looking at it from different eyes. So think about that.
Mm.
When you're putting on a show like this and you're presenting it to someone like myself who's had a lot of experience, naturally we're going to be more critical. That's the idea of the whole show. But other people, laymen, people who are just like birds or artwork like this, will go for that. They're not as critical as we are.
Yeah, that's a good point. Next point, I added some ink lines to represent the branches in the tree. Ink clogs with the pastel and therefore aren't the perfect duo. Has Colin ever used ink in any of his work?
Not in my pastel work, no. And I would totally agree with him on that. I wouldn't use ink. It's not a good idea to use ink in any form when you're dealing with. The only thing you could have done, you could have put it in first, and then the pastel would have gone over the top of the ink, or would have been better, rather than adding it. Because when you add it, you've already got the pastel on there, so the ink is going against the pastel. So the other way around. But I still wouldn't have done that. I don't like the idea. I prefer a nice sharp pencil.
Good point. The sunlight isn't as pronounced as I wanted, but I didn't want to tempt fate and turn possible quick fix into a major disaster.
That's a very good point, and I agree with that. I do agree with that. That the sunlight is because the general overall tone, especially in the background, isn't strong enough. This is why the sunlight doesn't really appear as bright. If you look at the sun on mine and then look at the sun on Greg's, it's about the same consistency. But if you look at the surrounding foliage or representative of foliage, it's a lot darker. So that makes the sun brighter. Same with the water.
That's a good point.
Exactly. Well, we come to the next point. The reflection on the water doesn't match the sky as well as I wanted to. Same thing.
It's the contrast.
Need to have that contrast. Yes.
Yeah.
Once again, it's something that you've got to. It comes with experience. And the other point I would make that Greg hasn't mentioned is I would have chopped that bottom of that picture off.
Ah, right. Okay. So I made it slightly narrower. Yeah, like yours.
Well, the reason is, you see, foliage is a really, really hard thing to do anyway, and something like that is a nightmare because it's right in the front of the picture, equal to the bird. So therefore, people are going to see it immediately, aren't they? So if you can cut some of that out. I've talked about this last week. I've just done a lovely tiger, and all the way through, folks, I was thinking, I don't like all these rocks. There was a lot of rock at the bottom. Well, in the end, I cut about 1 centimetre off at the bottom of the picture, and people will see that being done, and it made all the difference.
Really?
So you see, it happens to me, and it didn't happen until the last section, I should think, the last 10 minutes of the work.
Wow.
I cut it off the bottom. And people will see that when they come to see the tiger. So it happens to me too. But in a situation like this, you see, I know Greg will say, "Oh, I've signed my name at the bottom there, or I put my signature." Well, you can put it again.
I was just going to see if we can give Greg a sort of
keep going up, Steve.
Because there's a bit at the top though that's a bit. Do you know what I was?
That's it. Stop. About there. No, go a bit higher than that. I want to lose that little bit of dark there on the branch. Zip. Now that would have been a better picture, in my opinion.
Oh, that's interesting. How that does change it, doesn't it?
Doesn't it just? And I hope everybody sees that for what it is. And but Greg always got to do now is put it down the bottom again. You just redo the signature. And I would do it where he's done it. That's good.
Lovely. Oh, well, thanks, Greg. You raised some really good points there. I hope that's helped a lot of other people watching as well, to note some points from that. The next one comes a great picture from Jenny, combining your trick, really, of taking multiple reference pictures and combining them together. So
very well done.
Dogs here.
That's a great bit of work. That is very well done. Do you know what I would have done there, Steve? If And I don't suggest Jenny takes this the wrong way. It's still a great picture, and present it exactly as it is there. Don't even think about doing what I'm going to suggest. What I probably would have done there is I would have, you know, the brindle, the photograph of the brindle, which is a separate photograph from the other one. When I say the brindle, the brown dog, brown dog, I'd have turned him round. I'd have flipped it, so that you can do this on the computer very easily. You can flip it around so it faces the other way. Now, I know people will say, well, you look at the same dog. Well, would you be able to tell the difference? I don't think so. And what you then get is two dogs like slightly better positioned. Are you with me?
Yeah.
It's only an observation. It's something that Jenny, as I said, don't take it to heart. Don't change what you've done. But these are ideas that I can bring up. It's the kind of thing I would do, and I would look at it.
Well,
because
I was just going to say, if I just bring a picture on the screen of an example where you've done this.
Yes, that's right. Now, both of those dogs were, one was facing one way and one was facing the same way. You know, they were both doing that. But I wanted to reposition them, and of course they were the same size, so I moved the other one back a bit. You see how much nicer that actually feels than if you were to put you know, two dogs like that. I mean, it's only in my opinion. No one's going to question that, because you made such a good job of it.
Yeah.
And well done in leaving the chains off.
Yeah, I noticed that just then when I showed you that. Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, Jenny's email actually says the smaller dog has several tones and shades of color and a lot of highlighted hairs that I couldn't get that right. She also had, because she had separate photos, they weren't in perspective. And then she says that the small dog's neck is a bit too narrow and he should be much smaller than the white one. What's your thoughts on that and the sizing of the dogs?
Well, how I would have got over that is I would have made the picture slightly smaller. Now, if say Jenny had done what I said, turned it round, the smaller dog would have been more or less in that same position, but closer to the other dog, and you'd have had a gap between the two. See what I mean? You'd have that light gap between the two. That means you could have closed in on the heads a bit better. And you could have made it just, rather than a lot of background. I know it's difficult to see that because there may be a background above that dog on Jenny's painting that I can't see. I can see a bit of a table on one side. So it's just repositioning. You know, a good idea when you're doing anything like this is to get the photographs and play with them before you even begin your picture, and be sure that you've got it as absolutely right. The hair is, this is what we were talking with, weren't we? The hair on the white dog, it's not so bad because you're not really seeing the hair as much, but the other one is a bit smooth.
Yeah. How do you get the highlight? Because you can see the highlights. It's a very tricky, isn't that a very tricky kind of hair to get on the
it's very hard. Done quite well, really. I think if you look under the eyes, that's got a sort of like a separation. Why didn't you do the same thing on the neck? Because it's exactly the same idea. So if you've done the same thing as you've done underneath the eyes on the light area of the neck, it would have been a little less smoothed.
That's a good.
So what you've done for one, if it works for one, and it depends what you did first. If you did that first under the eye first, then you would have had experience and to do the other. If you didn't, and you did the smooth bit first, then you would have learned by doing the areas under the eye, and then I would have gone back and done. But these are small things. These are small. It's a great picture, though. Don't take it away from yourself. I know you're here for a good reason, but the neck is, I can agree, it is a problem. But you know why that is, don't you? It comes down to photographs again, folks.
Yeah, you said this many times.
You see, the photograph's been taken from above, looking down on the dog. And if you'd have had better positioning, gone down to the dog's level, it would have still looked at you, and you'd have had a better position, and you wouldn't have had to work so hard. The reason you've had to do that is because you've slightly moved out of your position.
Okay. Yeah.
Try to change him. Try to change him. You've done quite well with the white one, but it's not worked quite so well with the other one.
Yeah.
Never mind. That's what you're here for.
Yeah, and a great job of taking 2 pictures and putting them together. God,
it's one of the
so,
hardest. I always hated doing that. And when I used to do it, professionally, I hated that.
Anyway, lovely work, Jenny. Next one is from John, this lovely panda. And John says, I'd be interested to hear what he has to say about the way I tackled the dark fur that sticks out into the white fur and into the background of the image. To do this, I basically used the edge of a flat grey colour shaper and with a very light touch, dragged it from the dark fur outwards. I'm not sure if this was the best way to achieve that effect, but it seemed the natural thing to do.
Yeah, why not? Why not? It's quite hard, isn't it? We've had this with tigers and other animals where you have the dark fur hitting the light fur.
Yeah.
When you try to put the dark fur on, it picks up the light, and then when you put the light fur into the dark, it picks up the dark, and you get a little bit of a muddy mess at the end. It's not easy to do that, and but you've done quite a good job of it. I would have made just a little bit more of the paw, the paw that's coming onto the branch. It kind of doesn't separate enough from the panda.
Right, yeah.
You see where that light area is on the right-hand side of the paw. If you look at the area of the panda, it's darker than that.
Is this just this area here?
That's it, yes.
Yeah.
And by paying a bit more attention to that, it's not easy. Because
that's very subtle. I wouldn't have even seen that until you said that.
Well, it's the sort of thing I would look at, you see, as being something that you need to do. The other thing I would say, if you move just about a centimetre on my television, on my computer, across to the mouth, and you look at that area there, you see on the photograph how that shading is darker. Now move over to the other one.
Okay, yes. So
now this is something that you've really got to work on lighter animals. It's hard because you're going to have to stick the greys and the dark colours into that, and but this is where 3-dimensional comes in. If you were to have paid a little bit more attention to that, you'd have had a more 3-dimensional panda baby. It kind of looks a little flat again. But it's small things, but they all add up, at the end. And interesting enough, Steve, as you and I both know, we've got a couple of great pandas coming up.
Yes, yeah.
And so you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. And
that's going to help loads.
It will. Yes, it's a mummy and baby. It's my mummy and baby theme that's been running through the last years. Well, it's another mother mummy and baby panda, and they are great subjects. And so you've got a panda baby and a panda mummy on the way. Well, at least I'm assuming it's mummy. It could be daddy.
It could be, yeah. We'll stick with mummy because we like that mummy and baby panda. Yeah, lovely. Oh, well done, John. That's not an easy picture, so you've done a great job. The next one is from Wendy, and Wendy's done a version of your pig on our membership site. Wendy says, because I didn't have the 189, I found it a struggle to produce exactly the same effect on the pig's chin. That was the most tricky area for me. I also tried to shade the background with pastel chalks, but it didn't work out. I think it's because I'm not using the same paper as Colin just yet, as I need to use up what I have already.
Okay. Well, I can't answer that question because you should have used my paper. Anyway, if you, not necessarily the case though, using pastel chalks won't work, I'm afraid. Not on their own. You have to have a pastel pencil background to start with.
Right, yeah.
You have to have that put in. The reason for that is it then allows, when you put the soft pastel chalks on top of it, they stick to the pastel pencil. If you try just putting it on, you end up what you've got there. You just keep, if you try putting more on, you just rub it off. It's got no adhering, you know, no adhesive. The pastel pencil, I know it's a pain in the bum. I do know that, and I've been told that many times. I can't be bothered to do it. Okay, then it won't look like mine. I'm adamant about that because I used to do what you've done, and I couldn't understand why the pastel kept moving and coming off the paper. But that's because you haven't got the adhesion, the pastel pencil underneath. You only put a couple of shades in. I can't remember what I used there. Anyway, whatever, probably grey. But anyway, a light grey, I would think. But anyway, whatever I did use, that would have added like a sticky's not the word. It's not the word I'm using.
It's like a grip, isn't it? Like a
yeah. That's a better word for it. Yeah. So when you put the pastel on top of that, it sticks.
Yeah.
And what a difference it makes too. Now the chin, that is hard, and I know it is because I had the same problem. But it's made easier if you think, once again, if you look at the bottom of the chin, under the snout, and its relationship to the fence. How dark is the fence compared with the chin?
Yeah.
And had you made that pen just a little darker, it would have worked.
Yeah.
Now one of the problems you have there, and I can see where your problem's been, is it's a little muddy.
Does that mean it's overworked a little bit?
Yeah, I think you're a little bit concerned that it was a bit too dark, but that's where the confidence comes in. You need to be stronger, and had that been stronger, it would have looked altogether different. See, there's lots of points there. That's roundness. I don't think the 189 would have been responsible. We can't say the 189, the lack of, is responsible for that being like it is. It's the fact that you haven't made the dark colors strong enough in the surrounding area.
Interesting.
It's small, isn't it? It's tiny points, but well done anyway. It's still a lovely picture. If you look at the area, and now look at the area underneath the right ear, you've got a dark area. Can you see that dark area there? Now you see how that on that picture looks really effective, and on Wendy's it doesn't have quite the same effect. Now what would have been better there is to use, say, a 182, no, not 182, sorry, a 283, which is a richer color, and then used a darker color on top of it. You'll have to go back to my original instructions on that. It's on the website. I'll just redo that bit again and see how I did that, because it's so effective. And that's the same kind of thing that we look as under the chin and under the paws.
Yeah, and it's shading, isn't it? It's that shading.
Yeah.
Anyway, lovely job, Wendy. Well done. The last one we have is from Jill. This is Jill's third pastel pencil picture. She's done a fantastic job. Jill says, I was particularly concerned with the areas on the right side of the cheeks. The light vertical areas from the eyes to mouth are not good at all, and the transition from light to dark is not smooth. On zooming in especially, it doesn't look realistic at all. I'm still scared to put on any kind of background color. I feel that if it went wrong, it'd ruin the whole picture, but I can really see it needs some color there to bring it alive.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with Jill on that. It's a line. When there's a line, not a line. When it's a smooth transition between one and other, it's not easy to do though. So don't be too upset about it. It's something that can be done, and you see it done. And if you look at my videos again, many times I show that kind of thing being done, and there's more coming. I've got to tell you, in the same kind of idea. And it's just practice. You've got to get rid of that. It would probably have been better for you just to use a color shaper there, and even lost that light. It wouldn't have gone altogether, but it would have subdued it a bit. The line that's very obvious under the left eye, the line under the light area. There's a light strip that runs down from top to bottom. That there's a line there, and it almost looks as though you've drawn a line, which you probably have. Now, if you were to make that smoother, it would have been a little better.
Okay.
All of these tiny, small things are what Jill will have to pick up, and will pick up as long as you carry on watching us, as long as you carry on. Don't just look at the animals either. Look at the other subjects. I've said this so many times now. We have a variety of subjects, portraits, landscapes, the lot. When you try different ones, you find there are subtleties there that can be applied to the animal, and vice versa. If you just stick to animals all the time, you tend to keep falling in the same trap all the time without fresh eyes and fresh challenges. So I think it's quite important. I mean, we've just put on Facebook the coloured lizard. Now, the reason I did that, I was asked to do that quite some time ago by one of the members, and I said, no, I can't do that. Who wants the lizard on their wall? Now, and I didn't do it for that reason, because I prefer dogs and cuddly animals and nice landscapes. However, when I did this on my iPad, and I deliberately did it that way because I felt that it would give me practice. But when I finished it, I thought, I wonder if people would like to use that or do that as a challenge. And I was surprised at the Facebook replies. I mean, some people said, no, it's not for me. You see, once you think like that, once you say it's not for me, that means you're dismissing, excuse me, I've got a bit of a throggy, dismissing the possibility that you could learn something from it. Are you getting my drift? So what I do, I try everything, and did when I first started. I tried everything, every single subject. I was also helped by my classes, who then extended those subjects beyond, well, you just wouldn't believe the sort of things that I was doing. But all that experience goes together, and it makes a difference to your picture when you're working on. You put all that experience to work. So, but still, I'm not going to take it away from Jill. It's a great picture, and I totally agree with the background. So when you get round to it, Jill, I'd give it a go. There's plenty, once again, there's plenty of simple backgrounds. You don't need to do anything too fancy.
No, exactly. Well, just mentioning as well, the great job she's done on highlighting these hairs. You know, we had it in the other picture that Jenny did. That's another example of you know, getting the hairs in the fur as well.
That's right.
Great job on that.
There is only one thing. Can I just be critical a tiny bit of that? If you look at the collar, the center of the collar, and work a line down more on the left-hand side where that white is, there's a lot of white. No, not on that, on Jenny's there. Just there. You see how that is a little bit another line. We've got another line running from the collar to the bottom of the picture. So, now, if you look at the picture, the photograph, it's not there. There's no line there. There's a suggestion of it, but it's not a line. So that light fur that is there needs to be broken up a bit. And these are the kind of things that you may not have picked up. You might think, oh, I've done a good job. Because when you look at your photograph, you think that that's a light line down there. Put the line in. But it's not. So to break that up would have been just a tiny bit better.
I wouldn't have noticed that until you said.
No one does, Steve. No one does. It's my eye that picks it up, because I pick it up on my own pictures, and I would see it. And sometimes I don't see it. I could do what Jill's done there, but I would see it before it finished. I thought, oh, hang on, that's not quite right.
Well, that's what you're here for, and that's what members are paying for as well. They're getting the subjects and all the course material, but they're also getting your expertise. So
that's right.
That's why they send in their pictures, and that is the last one for today. So if you've got a picture and you're a member of our website, then you can send it through to us. Just go to our website, colinbradleyart.com, and get in touch. Send it over by email. Also, if you do want feedback on your picture, just mention some areas that you found a bit challenging, like our other members have done here, so that we could focus in on our advice and give you pointers on exactly what you need help with. I'll just bring up that colourful lizard, shall I? As people
yes,
might not have seen that from Facebook.
I'll talk about it.
There we go. It's coming in now. There we go. Lovely. Look at that.
Yes. Now, if you look at that, look at what the things I've already told you. Look at the lines. Look at all the lines I've got there. Do you see the folds? How the folds are folding round. Now, if you'd have done that lizard and then gone back to your other animals, you would have had a little bit more experience. You see what I mean? So, as I said, not everybody wants that, and I can understand that some of the comments said, I'm going to stick to my landscapes or whatever. Absolutely right, and you should do that if you want. But we're looking at things that maybe you would learn more from. And when you go back to your original artwork, you will learn something new. I've actually moved on, Steve, just out of interest, you don't know this, but I'm doing an Renoir impressionist painting at the moment on the iPad.
Ooh.
And this lizard prompted me to do it.
Oh, so if you hadn't done this lizard, you might
No,
not
I
have
wouldn't
thought
have done
about
it. No, because I looked at that. I thought I love all the color. I love the way the colors are blending and mixing together, and I was getting quite excited. So then I've got a Renoir which I'm doing for the class, and that's on the chocks at the moment. I haven't started it yet, but I'm going to. But it's more the traditional kind of thing, two people dancing. I'm sure people have probably seen that. And it's a lovely picture, and that's going to be done, but that's more traditional. But the one I'm actually doing is Fantasyland. Oh gosh, it's Fantasyland.
Wow.
The only thing in that picture that I'm doing is a girl sitting on it's like a hill-ish. I say that because there's no real representation, but the girl is more or less recognizable. But everything else isn't. It's all Fantasyland. But and I'll show you when you finish it. But you see, what I'm trying to tell you is, and all the people out there, is don't restrict yourself too much. Do things that maybe will help you. But of course, if you don't like lizards, or you don't want to spend 20-25 hours, which I did on that, that's not pastel pencil.
Yeah,
pastel pencil wouldn't take anywhere near that length of time.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, if you are interested in doing this picture in pastel pencils, you think you might like to have a go, then leave a comment below. Let us know your thoughts, and just like people have done on the Facebook page. So if you've liked us on Facebook, then you can go and check that out as well on there and see other people's comments. Okay, great. So we'll leave it there. We'll be back in another 2 weeks with some more of your artwork, and we'll continue to give feedback on it. So if you've enjoyed this this broadcast, then give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and we hope you get on. Everyone that's sent in pictures, hope you get on really great with your next picture, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
Thanks for joining us.